This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly. This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
Wham bam, and we're off with another Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast. So beer drinking goggles on, top hat on, eye monocle in. Let's crack on with yet another zany, fun-filled Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
On this week's podcast,
coming up, my digital friend Joyce, Professor Frank McDonough, fake Showbiz news, Pigeons, MPs, cows, Fred Flintstone, Nick Hancock, Doc Martin, and a whole lot more.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
Morning, Joyce. You're looking very refreshed, but what are those blue things in your ears?
Morning, Mr. Mikedjkelly. What is that you just said?
I said, what are those blue things in your ears?
That's why I cannot hear anything. I went swimming and forgot to take them out. They keep the water out of my ears.
Well, Joyce, I'm impressed. Swimming this early in the day?
It's the new boyfriend. He likes to get a couple of lengths in before breakfast.
it's Joyce's bit of the show with sidekick Mikedjkelly. This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
I'm Mikedjkelly with the latest STS news. Former asylum boat Bibi Stockholm to be upgraded and have wheels fitted and moved inland to be used as a prison. King Charles makes a shock announcement that the £45 million extra money from the Crown Estate will be used to help families on benefits with more than 2 children. Latest must-have fashion item, the Trump Teabag Ear Protector, sponsored by Yorkshire Tea, now available in the UK. Following Radio 2's Tony Blackburn Day on the 24th of July, GBTV now to have a Clacton Claxon Day with Nigel Farage. Public opinion poll following election specials confirms Nick Robinson is not a very nice person. That's it, you're up to date with all the news that is news this hour. I'm Mikedjkelly for STS News.
This is the Mikedjkelly podcast.
Have you got this summer's must-have holiday item? Yes, it's the Trump-style teabag ear protector that will stop your ears getting burned in the hot summer sun and turning orange. With global warming, medical experts including Dr. Emmett Brown, Doc Martin and Doctor Who all say these should be worn when out in the sun for your own protection. For those who are embarrassed to be seen wearing the teabag ear protector, we're now making a disguised version that provides audio and looks like headphones, but still offer the same great sun protection. Buy yours now at your local JLM stockist.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Don't forget, pod pickers, if you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us, and if you have any stories, gossip, jokes or anything for the next episode, do get in touch. We're on X and social media sites at Mikedjkelly STS or at Mikedjkelly Disco. I don't care what you say, you're not having a spot. Off you go, laddie. Please do follow, and if you have time, it would be appreciated if you could give us a review on any of the usual feedback sites.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Better say well done to Koresh, who went on to be the winner of winners on Ken Bruce's Pop Master TV quiz with a top score of 39. Extremely impressive. But talking of TV, are there any programmes to watch? In the main, they're all showing programmes we've seen before, and if you go further down the channel listings, they too are showing programmes we've seen before. It's all okay for the BBC to chirp on about losing younger viewers and licence payers. What they need to do is some blue sky thinking and get back to what matters, showing and making programmes people want to watch. Cooking with the Stars, I will not make the mistake of clicking on that again. If they are worried about money at the Beeb, it was nice to see a gentleman in a Michael McIntyre shirt win £64,000 on the wheel. But where does the Beeb get £64,000 to give away? These shows can be entertaining without having to give away big prizes. 24th of July 2024 was Tony Blackburn Day on the BBC, an international day of remembrance about the high points of Tony's broadcasting days since his career started on Radio Caroline on the 24th of July 1964. To commemorate, the RAF Red Arrows performed a fly-past over the Blackwater estuary off the Essex coast in a fitting tribute. 3 sticks of pink Radio Caroline rock were given away on the promenades at Frinton-on-Sea and Walton-on-the-Naze.
This is the Short of the Short Mike Kelly podcast.
I see that Farage, the yoghurt makers, are having an advertising campaign to stop you saying Clacton Claxon when asking for yoghurt and telling you it's pronounced Fayard, not Farage. And on names, I see a couple have christened their child Teresa Haven Stickle, or to put it in its abbreviated version, Testicle.
Mr. Shorter Than Short, do you have a middle name?
Just DJ, as in Mikedjkelly. And what about you, Joyce? Do you have a middle name or two?
I will tell you, but you are not allowed to laugh. Joyce Fanny Shufflebottom. And before you ask, Fanny has its origins in the French name Francis meaning free one, and of the name Estefania, a Spanish version of Stephanie, meaning crown.
This is the Short of the Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
We talked about stylish Starmer's glasses in the last podcast, but what's with all these people wearing massive glasses? Are the sales staff at Specsavers and Vision Express lying and saying, "Looks good on you, sir," too often? Why is everyone starting to look like brains out of Thunderbirds?
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
There's lots of stories in the news about counterfeit football shirts on sale for less than £20, which and the police are warning that you should not buy these as they are produced by rogue traders and stop legitimate businesses making a profit. But I suggest that as many of the cheaper counterfeit shirts now look as good as the real thing, the real crooks are the likes of Adidas charging £80 plus for a shirt.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Short and Short podcast for you.
And what's with the 2-child allowance? What is it exactly? In simple terms, it means if you have more than 2 children, then you won't get any additional benefits for the cost that they are incurring you on universal credit and tax credits. There are exemptions to this. If your child was born before the 6th of April 2017, when it came in, then that doesn't count. However, if you are a Member of Parliament, MP, they can claim an extra £5,500 per child under 18, up to 3 children. What other job would give you perks like this? Maybe if MPs were in the same boat as the rest of us, they could appreciate the problems and difficulties normal folk face. And on those social media sites, Simon Calder, cheap, available and welcoming, no not me, Paris during the Olympics, airfares and hotel rates slide as tourism businesses in the French capital mourn le flop. Tomorrow you could fly to Paris for £27 Ryanair from Belfast or £54 EasyJet from Glasgow. Alison Cameron, how about this from the DWP? They invite a disabled person to an event for disabled people organised by disability advisors in a building that is not accessible. Paul Bassett Davis, who could have predicted that the way to resolve a strike by hard-working doctors who simply wanted a realistic pay offer was not to spend vast sums of money fighting them, but instead to make a realistic pay offer mind-blowing. Emily Pilbeam would love to have an in-depth chat with someone about what the worst train service in the UK is, because despite Northern being up there, I think it's actually cross-country trains. Howard Beckett, this from @politicsjoe_UK, sums it up. Labour's economic plan is austerity. Make up nonsense about a £20 billion black hole, slash state spending, slash benefits for 10 million pensioners, accelerate NHS privatisation, repeat the NHS model for energy.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
So everybody's digital products are now with artificial intelligence, AI. What does it mean? What do you get? What does it do? I think marketing AI is going to be as difficult as 3G was for telecom companies. They were all looking to tell you the benefits, and all they could come up with was it was faster.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
CrowdStrike, easily forgotten. Now banks, airports and shops are back to normal after its global outage. CrowdStrike is a global cybersecurity leader with an advanced cloud-native platform for protecting endpoints, cloud workloads, identities and data. That might be, but it does go wrong, and apparently every service uses it. Has nobody ever done any contingency planning and thought about running different services through different systems so everything does not break at the same time? And on technical mishaps, as far as I can remember, this was kept hush-hush in June 2023 when BT Systems went wrong and lost 14,999 calls. They've been fined £17.5 million for being ill-prepared to respond to a catastrophic failure of its emergency call handling service. Talking of things that are not fast, tried to get a doctor's appointment and joined at position 3 in the queue, but it took 15 minutes to be answered. Do you think they answered the call slowly on purpose? If they say took a minute a call, there would be too many patients to see the doctor. As it is, the best they could do was to offer an appointment in 22 days' time.
So that's why you are grumpy. You have been hanging on the phone for the doctors.
Well, maybe a bit. It's more about not feeling well and being 3 weeks before I get seen.
There's other ways to do it these days. What's wrong with you? I will find a cure. I will search for it on Ask Jeeves.
Good, Joyce. Are you still on dial-up internet connection? What's the answer? Are they saying go to Timothy White's and get some cure-all snake oil?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And in our Why Aren't They on the Telly spot, this week we're shouting out for the return of Nick Hancock. Nicholas John Hancock, an English actor and TV presenter. He hosted the sports quiz They Think It's All Over for 10 years. He also formerly presented Room 101 and many other TV and radio shows. He was educated at Yarlett School in Staffordshire and later at Shrewsbury School. While he was at Cambridge, Hancock was a member of the Footlights, where he first collaborated with Hugh Dennis and Steve Punt, and became president in 1983. After graduating, Hancock became a PE teacher and practiced stand-up comedy as a hobby. But why isn't he on our telly anymore? And now to radio. Why do people mess with radio schedules? We say, put Les Ross back on Sunday mornings on Boom Radio.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Stuff I didn't know, and there's so much of it. I read that the UK has 1 million electric vehicle chargers, with a new one installed every 25 minutes. My first reaction on seeing that it's not around here, as charger sightings are limited to some supermarket car parks. I also see China has the biggest take-up of electric cars, where people buy them as the natural choice and prices are similar to fossil-powered vehicles. Now that high-speed fibre internet is available in most areas, they are putting up telegraph poles to get a wire to your home. But what about putting a hub on the top of the pole and all the houses on the street connect to that hub by Bluetooth and have their own login? That would save all the cables and fixings that have to be run to the individual houses. If this happens, I want a cut.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Professor Frank McDonough at FXMC 1957 with a few end-of-the-month facts for July. 1998, the National Minimum Wage Act 1998 received royal assent to create a minimum wage across the United Kingdom. It was a key social reform of Tony Blair's first Labour government. No national minimum wage had existed prior to 1998. 1971, two Apollo 15 astronauts, David Scott and James Irwin, became the first to ride on the moon in a lunar rover. 1970, the Royal Navy ended the officially sanctioned daily rum ration for sailors. Dating back to 1665, the ration consisted of 1/8 of an imperial pint, that's 71 millilitres of rum, which was given to every sailor at midday each day. 1942, the Oxford Committee for Famine Relief was founded in response to the flight of refugees in Greece after World War II. It was renamed Oxfam, a name derived from its postal code abbreviation, and it continued to work to aid poor people in Europe and then around the world.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
I love these lists they do. I see Bamborough in Northumberland has been voted the best seaside destination by Witch readers for 4 years in a row. I've been there, but it's a while ago and it was too cold for me. In another survey, Derby has been crowned worst city after appearing at position 25 in a list of 25. But what about all the other cities not mentioned? There are 70 plus cities in the UK. They all must be worse than Derby. Or could it be in the mind of the person putting the list together?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Today's do-gooders are the Makaton charity at makaton.org. What is Makaton Aware? Makaton is an innovative initiative committed to breaking down communication barriers and ensuring that everyone feels valued and understood. We aim to establish a network of inclusive spaces, including businesses, community settings, visitor attractions, and everyday services where individuals of diverse backgrounds can thrive. It's ideal for those looking to promote inclusivity without the need for extensive training. Our vision is simple: to build a community where everyone's voice is heard and understood. Through Makaton Aware, we aim to promote inclusivity, empower individuals, and foster meaningful communications. Join the Makaton Aware community today. Makaton Aware venues demonstrate dedication to accessibility, inclusion, and meaningful communications by embracing the following principles: embrace understanding and patience, allow time and space, foster inclusivity, provide staff support, use clear signage. Find out more about the Makaton charity at makaton.org. And on charity news, I see the Red Cross adverts on X say they're now taking crypto donations. I wouldn't know where to start. Sometimes I think there should be an RSPCA for humans, for desperate people with nowhere to go, but somewhere they can go and somebody will look after them.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
Today's amazing music quiz features a #1 hit from 51 years ago. Guess the song or the name of the group who had a hit with the song that these lines came from. The next stop that we make will be England. To all the folks in Russia and China too, don't you know that it's time to get on board and let this train keep on riding on through. Well, well. Name the song or the group, and still on a musical note, and as the Bruce Springsteen song says, last night I sat him up behind the wheel and said, son, take a good look round. This is your hometown. Well, in my hometown, we have Hester, Hare Hills, and now, according to the Mayor of West Yorkshire, a new bus service. The number 9, which started on Monday, July the 22nd, and connects people in Leeds with leisure sites across the region, with stops within walking distance of Middleton, Roundhay and Temple Newsham Parks, as well as a stop at White Rose Shopping Centre. It's the bloody Ring Road bus service, and it runs in a circle around the city and has been running since I was a kid. There's nothing new about it. Classmates used to catch it to school in the 60s.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
If you're new to the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast, you can still get to hear all previous episodes just by searching or shouting the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Fake Showbiz News at Fake Showbiz News. Sir Cliff Richard demands to see the BBC's pre-prepared orbit for him. I know you've done it, so let me see what you're going to say, he snapped. Rachel Stevens says there's absolutely no reason why you can't have a big roast dinner in the afternoon and then a takeaway curry in the evening. Eminem samples 10cc on a new single, The Things We Do for Drugs. Jet2 shelves TV ad campaign showing Jess Glynn surprising passengers by boarding their plane to sing Hold My Hand in person after passenger reactions were not as positive as had been anticipated. Ollie Murs says he's not sure why, but the smell of sun cream always makes him think of holidays.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
And in our new Kirsty and Phil type housing spot, I grew up in some streets where there were back-to-back houses. I've only just found out that this was an industrialised northern type thing, and if you go down south, they've never heard of back-to-back houses. I tell you what I hate, it's people who want or get massive kitchens when having a house refit or buying a pad on Place in the Sun, because they have a so-called large family. You don't need a big kitchen. Look at restaurants and cafes that produce food in vast quantities all day, every day. They're always small. When you buy a house, should the house advert and the details include which political party is in power in that postcode? You might not want to move into a conservative or reform zone. You might like to rethink where you want to move to.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
If you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use either of the following to contact us. You can send your stories to us for the next issue by using X or social media sites at Mikedjkelly STS or at Mike Kelly Disco. Guess the celebrity, born on the 12th of August 1957 in Brighton. She is an English actress. She gained a BAFTA TV Award nomination for At Home with the Braithwaites and Tommy Cooper, Not Like That, Like This. Her film roles include For Queen and Country, Sexy Beast and Mike Bassett, England Manager. She is perhaps better known for playing the role of Dr. Lydia Fonseca in The Good Karma Hospital and Sandra Pullman in the BBC One series New Tricks. I see Eurosport has sidelined sports reporter Bob Bollard for his outrageous and controversial remarks about the Australian team in the Olympics. He said, well, the women are just finishing up. You know what women are like, hanging around doing their makeup. Outrageous.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
More from the social media sites. The wise words of James Melville at James Melville. Communications and sponsorship, communicator and pundit. While UK council taxes continue to rise, at least 3,106 local government employees in 2022-2023 received £100,000 plus annual total remuneration, the highest level since 2013-2014. At least 175 council employees received £200,000 plus in total remuneration. The lack of support that governments are giving to farmers is absolutely shameful. Farming is the bedrock of a healthy, sustainable society. Instead of supporting homegrown farm produce, governments appear to be more concerned with hammering the yields and livelihoods of farmers. Cows are part of the environmental sustainability. Methane from cows is part of the natural carbon cycle that after 10 to 12 years break down into natural CO2 and water. Grass absorbs the CO2 by photosynthesis, and that cycle starts again and keeps on repeating. If the government are serious about wanting to protect the NHS, they should massively invest in public leisure, fitness and sports facilities, and also add cooking, nutritional education, grow your own food into the national curriculum. Almost everything in our news cycle is questionable now. The lines between fact and fiction have become blurred. What our leaders and mainstream media peddle as the truth is often misinformation, and what is really the truth is smeared as misinformation in an era of rolling news.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Short and Short podcast for you.
And on a separate issue, I see Age Concern says, we strongly oppose the means testing of winter fuel payments because our initial estimate is that as many as 2 million pensioners who badly need the money to stay warm this winter will not receive it. And what this podcast says is a Member of Parliament, MP, in the House of Commons, salary £91,346 plus £5,500 per child, and subsidised food in Parliament. Instead of taking money off poor people, why not stop MP's child allowance and start charging full prices for food, or even close Houses of Parliament restaurants and use outside catering facilities like the rest of us do at work? Where I work, we have a fridge, microwave and water cooler, and yes, I sort of work in government for the local council.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
If you want to get in touch with this top-rated and sometimes much-listened-to podcast, please find us on X and social media sites at Mikedjkelly STS or at Mike Kelly Disco. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need any help with radio producer, presentation work, travel news, and voiceover work, please do get in touch. Please tell your friends about the podcast. All they need to do to find it is search on Google for the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And a final burst from those social media sites. Daniel Farmer, when I went to the beach today, I didn't expect to see thousands of people dressed as Kate Bush doing a synchronised dance to Wuthering Heights, but that's what I got, and it was epic. RH. If any of you need further proof that exercise is bad for you, yesterday I did some squats and lunges. Today I can't lower myself onto the toilet without howling like an injured animal. Lucy Tobijug, the diving is good if you're a fan of perfect bottoms. JP Devlin, attention retailers, if it's a nice warm day outside, don't turn the aircon on full blast inside the shop when customers are scantily clad. My wee arms and legs are freezing here.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Have you planned your next holiday? What about visiting the Scottish Pyramid in the Cairngorms? Yes, I know, it's the first I knew of them. This large monument is actually one of 11 Scottish cairns, man-made piles of stones, commemorating members of the British royal family. Prince Albert's cairn, the largest, was built after his death in 1861 and now stands proudly on a hilltop overlooking the seemingly endless forest below.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And in the late news, pensioners say they are not spending money to grow the economy. Instead, they are saving for their winter fuel bills. King's Royal Crown Estate on track to make an extra £45 million this year. King has cancelled royal patronages of Royal Pigeon Racing Association, the sport's governing body in the UK, and the country's premier club, the National Flying Club. Google search results not as good as they used to be, untruths being delivered as facts. LGBTQ plus community demand blue sky thinking is renamed rainbow thinking. ITV apologises for describing George Osborne as one of its election night unrivalled team of experts. The lifespan of an average solar panel is 25 to 30 years, then you have the waste to deal with. RSPCA expecting a glut of pigeons following rich people saying looking after pigeons is a working class northern thing. Anything from you, Joyce?
I warned you, that will teach you to vote Labour.
Joyce tells it as it is.
Okay, it's time to go. Guess the song or name the group who had a hit with the song these lines came from. The next stop that we make will be England. Tell all the folks in Russia and China too. Don't you know that it's time to get on board and let this train keep on riding on through. Well, well. Name the song or the group. It was the OJs and Love Train. Guess the celebrity. Born on the 12th of August 1957 in Brighton, she gained a BAFTA TV Award nominations for At Home with the Braithwaites and Tommy Cooper, Not Like That, Like This. Her film roles include For Queen and Country, Sexy Beast and Mike Bassett, England Manager. She is perhaps better known for playing the roles of Dr. Lydia Fonseca in The Good Karma Hospital and Sandra Pullman in the BBC One series New Tricks. Who is she? Amanda Jacqueline Redman, MBE. Today's do-gooders are the Makaton charity at makaton.org. Guess what? That's enough for this edition of the crazy Shorter Than Short podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly.
And me, Joyce.
Thank you for listening. Please take care out there. And remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Mike Kelly.